Hello, Symposiast. I'm Dr. Angela Puca, Religious Studies PhD and University Lecturer, and this is your online resource for the academic study of magic, esotericism, paganism, shamanism, and all things occult. And this is also spooky season, hence why the horns, because I always have to be your most serious professor. But today we have a very exciting topic. We're going to talk about blood magic. Ooh, blood magic. Sounds indeed spooky, but also very interesting from an academic point of view, because I don't reckon there's much in terms of history of the use of blood magic across different cultures and across different times in history. So that's what we're going to talk about today. But before we dive in, I'd like to remind you that this is a collab with my friends and fellow religion tube colleagues here on YouTube. So definitely check out Justin's Esoterica channel and Philip's Let's Talk Religion, because they also have quite a few scholarly spooky videos for this season. So check them out and say hi to them on my behalf. So back to our topic. I hope that it's something that interests you, and it's also important as always to remind you that this project of delivering free academic scholarship based on peer-reviewed scholarship literature and also my analysis of primary sources for you, it's only possible thanks to your support. This is a crowd-funded project, so it can only exist if you guys support it. So if you have the means, I would highly appreciate it if you consider supporting my work with one-off PayPal donations by joining my Patreon community. That's definitely what I would recommend, because you will also join a fantastic community and you would have lots of perks. We have monthly lectures, a book club, a Discord server. You can get one-to-one conversations with me. So plenty of things and a fantastic community besides supporting my work. So definitely join my Patreon. And these are all the ways to support me. You can also check out my services at drangelapuca.com. And I hope you consider. And otherwise, if you cannot afford to support me this way, I would definitely appreciate if you support me by liking this video and especially sharing this one or any of the videos that you particularly like around, so that the symposium can grow. Thank you so much for considering. And now let's start with our discussion. So today we're talking about blood magic and its historical development. We will explore how blood has been used in magical practices across various cultures and historical periods, examining its symbolic meaning, ritual functions, and ethical considerations. By the end of this episode, hopefully you will be able to understand not only the evolution of blood magic, but also its cultural significance and shifting interpretations over time. To begin, we must first define what we mean by blood magic. That's something that in every academic scholarly discussion you will always find that every time that there's a discussion about something, first let's define what we're talking about, because otherwise that will create confusion throughout the discussion. So broadly, blood magic refers to ritualistic practices and magical operations that incorporate blood, human or animal, as a crucial element. Blood can be used in a variety of ways within these rituals, such as offering it to deities, using it to consecrate objects, writing sigils, or marking sacred space. The underlying belief is that blood contains potent life force or vital energy. It can be harnessed to effect change, invoke supernatural entities, or establish connections with the divine. As noted by Davis, blood's perceived magical efficacy derives from its fundamental association with life and death. It acts as a bridge between the mundane and the spiritual realms, imbued with power that goes beyond the physical substance itself. The significance of blood is deeply embedded in cultural symbolism, where it often represents both life and death simultaneously. As René Girard in his Violence and the Sacred highlights, blood embodies a paradox, serving as a powerful symbol for vitality and renewal, while also invoking themes of violence, sacrifice, and mortality. This duality is evident in various cultural traditions. For example, in many ancient societies, blood was considered sacred and was employed in rituals to appease gods and spirits, ensure fertility, or protect against malevolent forces. Victor Turner's work on ritual studies illustrates that blood's role in rites of passage often signifies a liminal phase, where the participant is transitioning between social statuses or spiritual statuses. Its use in these contexts reinforces the belief in blood's transformative power, capable of marking and facilitating profound changes in one's life or identity. The idea that blood can act as a medium connecting the human and the divine is a common thread in various traditions. In some instances, the shedding of blood in ritual sacrifices was thought to feed or nourish deities, appeasing them to gain favor or avert misfortune. As Burkert points out, in the context of Greek sacrificial rituals, the act of slaughtering an animal and the subsequent use of its blood were central to the process of establishing communication with the divine. In other cultures, blood was used in initiation rites or magical spells to imbue objects or individuals with protective and healing properties, indicating its perceived role as a potent life force. Now, let's explore blood magic through different traditions, civilizations, and historical periods. We will begin by examining the role of blood magic in ancient cultures, focusing on its ritualistic uses and symbolic meanings. Blood magic in these societies was often integrated into religious practices and viewed as a powerful means of influencing divine forces, ensuring social harmony or averting calamities. We will explore three key cultural contexts where blood rituals were prevalent: Mesopotamia and the ancient Near East, Egypt, and Greco-Roman traditions. Blood rituals in the ancient Mesopotamian and Canaanite cultures were common and often involved the sacrifice of animals, though human blood was sometimes used in more extreme circumstances. The use of blood in these societies was fundamentally linked to the concept of life force and its ability to appease the gods. Scholars like Joan Scorlock have noted that the primary purpose of blood sacrifices was to maintain cosmic balance and to protect against malevolent supernatural forces. The release of blood was believed to nourish the gods and spirits, who would in turn ensure fertility, health, and general prosperity for the community. In the context of divination and healing, blood was occasionally used in rituals aimed at banishing sickness or evoking protective spirits. Ritual texts such as the Atrahasis and the Babylonian creation epic also reference the use of sacrificial blood to create humanity, indicating its association with the fundamental act of creation itself. Here, blood serves not only as a sacrificial medium, but also as a substance that carries the essence of life, with the potential to generate or restore it. In ancient Egypt, blood was similarly regarded as a potent source of magical power, often linked with divine and protective qualities. Egyptian magic employed the use of blood in both mundane and spiritual contexts, ranging from spells for healing to more complex rituals for invoking gods and warding off evil entities. As Geraldine Pinch explains, blood was sometimes used in conjunction with written spells or incantations, applied to amulets or objects to enhance their effectiveness. One notable example of blood's significance is found in the mythological story of the goddess Isis, who used blood from the sun god Ra to heal her son Horus. This myth illustrates the belief in blood's transformative and healing properties, which extended to everyday magic aimed at treating ailments or providing protection. Furthermore, blood sacrifices in Egypt were not limited to animals. There are records of ritualized human sacrifice, though these instances were rare and typically reserved for extreme circumstances, such as in contexts of royal burials or significant religious crises. In the Greco-Roman world, the use of blood in religious and magical practices was integral to the relationship between humans and gods. Blood sacrifice was a common practice in both public and private worship, serving as a means to establish communication with divine entities. Walter Burkert has thoroughly explored the ritualistic aspects of blood sacrifice in ancient Greece, suggesting that it functioned as both a communal act and as a means of ensuring divine favor. The shedding of blood, particularly in public rituals, was viewed as a form of nourishment for the gods, while also reinforcing social cohesion among the participants. Rituals such as the Taurobolium, a form of bull sacrifice associated with the cult of Mithras in the Roman Empire, involved the use of blood to initiate or purify devotees. The practice of Taurobolium has been interpreted by scholars as an act of symbolic rebirth, wherein the initiated was bathed in the blood of the sacrificial animal to attain spiritual renewal or higher status within the religious community. Additionally, the Greco-Roman magical papyri contained detailed instructions for using blood in spells aimed at binding or compelling spirits, often involving the use of one's own blood or that of animals. In these texts, blood acts as a potent medium for transmitting the practitioner's intent and connecting with supernatural forces, whether for purposes of healing, cursing, or divination. So, across these ancient cultures, certain common themes emerge in the use of blood magic. One is life force and nourishment. Blood is universally regarded as a carrier of life force, with the potential to sustain or restore life, appease deities, or communicate with spirits. Then we have sacrifice and reciprocity. Ritual sacrifices involving blood were often performed as acts of reciprocity, where the offering of life force was believed to elicit a reciprocal response from the divine, ensuring protection, prosperity, or other forms of favor. Then we have purification and healing. The use of blood in purification rites, healing rituals, and initiatory practices underscores its role as a transformative substance, capable of removing impurities and facilitating spiritual rebirth. These themes serve as a basis for understanding the continuity and evolution of blood magic in subsequent historical contexts, including the medieval and early modern European period. So let's talk about those then. Now, let's look at the role of blood magic in medieval and early modern Europe, where it was intertwined with evolving religious, cultural, and legal frameworks. Blood magic in this period often reflected the tension between traditional folk practices and the rising influence of Christianity. As the Church sought to establish orthodox religious practices, many forms of blood magic were condemned as heretical or associated with witchcraft and demonic activity. However, magical texts and practices involving blood persisted, revealing the complexity of attitudes towards the use of blood in ritual. With the Christianization of Europe, many pre-Christian rituals that involved blood were reinterpreted or outlawed by church authorities. The use of blood in magical practices was increasingly regarded as diabolical or heretical. Blood became a symbol of both Christ's sacrifice and sin. While Christ's blood was venerated as sacred and redemptive in the Eucharist, the use of blood in other magical contexts was viewed as potentially invoking demonic forces. Michael D. Bailey discusses how the Church's evolving stance on magic contributed to the marginalization and demonization of practices that involved blood, associating them with witchcraft, sorcery, and heresy. Ecclesiastical courts prosecuted individuals accused of using blood in magical rites, particularly those involving divination, love magic, or healing. Blood was thought to bind the practitioner to demonic entities or facilitate unnatural outcomes, further reinforcing the perception of blood magic as an unholy art. This period saw a growing association between witchcraft and blood pacts, where witches were believed to seal their allegiance to the devil with their own blood. Such accusations were common during witch trials, which peaked between the 15th and the 17th centuries. Despite the Church's condemnation, blood continued to be used in European magical traditions, as evidenced by various grimoires and magical manuscripts from the medieval and early modern periods. Texts such as the Key of Solomon and the Liber Iuratus contain references to the use of blood for ritual purposes, such as writing sigils, drawing protective circles, or consecrating magical tools. The use of blood in these texts was often justified by its perceived ability to amplify the potency of the ritual, as it was believed to carry the life force or intent of the practitioner. The Liber Iuratus specifically mentions using blood to write sacred names or occult symbols, suggesting that blood's vitality could help bridge the gap between the material and spiritual realms. In alchemical traditions, blood was sometimes incorporated into the creation of tinctures or elixirs, believed to possess transformative properties. The use of animal or human blood was thought to contribute to the vital spirit of the substance, enhancing its efficacy for healing or spiritual enlightenment. Alchemical texts occasionally reference the philosopher's blood, a metaphorical term linked to the philosopher's stone and the quest for immortality, where blood's transformative symbolism played a crucial role in representing the unity of matter and spirit. The association of blood with witchcraft became particularly prominent during the witch trials of the early modern period. Accusations frequently involved the use of blood for maleficium, or harmful magic, or in making pacts with the devil. According to Bailey, the idea that witches sealed their pacts with Satan using their own blood was a central motif in witchcraft lore. This notion reflected broader cultural fears surrounding blood, which, when used in magical contexts outside of sanctioned Christian rituals, was perceived as a tool for invoking malevolent forces. Furthermore, the Malleus Maleficarum, a key text used in the persecution of alleged witches, detailed how witches supposedly used blood for various purposes, including cursing, healing, and love magic. The fear of blood as a potent substance that could subvert natural order underpinned the anxieties surrounding witchcraft, leading to increased scrutiny and persecution of those accused of using it in magical practices. In addition to its association with witchcraft and sorcery, blood continued to play a role in folk magic and early modern medicine. Folk healers, such as cunning folk or wise women, often used blood in healing practices, where it was believed to have curative properties. Techniques such as bloodletting and the use of animal blood for wound treatments were common, rooted in the humoral theory of medicine, which viewed the balance of bodily fluids as essential for health. Blood was seen as a carrier of both physical vitality and spiritual power, making it a valuable substance in traditional healing practices. In some instances, animal blood was used in rituals intended to transfer illness from a person to an animal, effectively removing the ailment by redirecting it. This practice reveals a dual function of blood magic. It served both medical and magical purposes, reflecting a worldview where the boundaries between natural and supernatural healing were fluid. So, what are the themes that emerge from our analysis of medieval and early modern periods? We have one is the conflict between the church and folk traditions, because while the church sought to suppress blood-related magical practices as diabolical, folk traditions often retained the use of blood for protective and healing purposes. Then we have the role of blood in witchcraft and demonology, as blood was frequently depicted as a tool for making pacts or performing harmful magic, reinforcing its association with the diabolical. And then we have the continuity in alchemical and other magical texts, because despite the official condemnations, the use of blood persisted in grimoires and alchemical writings, illustrating both the evolution of the use of blood in esoteric traditions, but also a continuity of its use in a way. Now, this analysis sets the stage for the next part, which is about the use of blood in esoteric and modern occult traditions. Now we will explore the role of blood in modern esoteric and occult traditions, focusing on how practices involving blood evolved from earlier magical systems and were incorporated into new forms of ritual magic. The use of blood in these traditions often reflects a blend of older folkloric, alchemical, and ceremonial magic practices, adapted to suit modern spiritual and philosophical needs. Blood is typically employed in rituals to enhance power, forge spiritual connections, or achieve transformative experiences. We will examine key figures and movements that utilized blood magic in the development of their esoteric systems. And of course, we couldn't miss our beloved, the wickedest Aleister Crowley, that is always present when we talk about the history of magic. So our beastie Crowley is a central figure in the modern occult revival and incorporated blood into his ritualistic framework within the Thelemic tradition. Crowley viewed blood as a potent substance imbued with life force, capable of amplifying the power of magical rites. In Magic in Theory and Practice, he discusses the use of blood in rituals for consecration, invocation, and oath-making. For Crowley, the shedding of blood served to concentrate the life energy of the practitioner, providing a direct medium to channel magical intent and evoke supernatural entities. Crowley's approach to blood magic was partly informed by earlier Western esoteric traditions, including ceremonial magic and alchemy, which emphasized the transformative potential of vital fluids. His rituals sometimes included the use of animal blood, although he acknowledged ethical considerations and encouraged the symbolic use of substitutes, such as red wine or menstrual blood, which he regarded as potent for specific rites involving the feminine divine. Crowley's incorporation of blood magic was not merely ritualistic but also symbolic, reflecting his broader philosophy that sought to transcend conventional moral boundaries and access deeper layers of spiritual experience. As scholars such as Charton have noted, Crowley's use of blood was part of a wider attempt to reconfigure esoteric practices within a modern individualistic framework, where the practitioner's will was the central source of magical power. In contemporary left-hand path traditions and Satanism, blood magic is often employed to symbolize rebellion, personal empowerment, and connection to primal forces. Groups such as the Church of Satan and the Temple of Set have incorporated blood rituals as part of initiation ceremonies or to reinforce magical workings aimed at self-deification and the transgression of societal norms. Blood may be used to sign pacts, create sigils, or consecrate ritual objects, serving as a means of invoking power and establishing one's independence from conventional religious constraints. Jesper Agard Petersen and Per Faxneld discuss how these practices reflect a conscious engagement with blood's taboo status, using it to challenge established moral boundaries and embrace an aesthetic of darkness and transgression. Blood magic within Satanic rituals often functions not only as a tool for achieving personal goals, but also as a statement of philosophical and spiritual defiance. For instance, Anton LaVey, founder of the Church of Satan, viewed the use of blood as a way to harness the primal energies associated with the substance, drawing on its cultural associations with life, death, and forbidden power. The rise of chaos magic in the late 20th century brought a pragmatic approach to blood magic, where traditional rules and dogmas were abandoned in favor of experimental and results-based practices. Chaos magicians such as Peter J. Carroll and Phil Hine embraced the idea that the use of blood, while potent, could be adapted or symbolically replaced, reflecting a flexible attitude towards ritual components. The use of blood in chaos magic is often viewed as a means to achieve older states of consciousness, bind magical intent, or establish personal commitment to the working. In some cases, chaos magicians substitute physical blood with other substances like red ink or use visualization techniques to address ethical concerns about animal rights or self-harm. This symbolic use of blood illustrates the adaptive nature of chaos magic, where the emphasis is on the practitioner's intent and the psychological effects of the ritual rather than strict adherence to traditional practices. And speaking of blood, of course, we cannot avoid this type of blood that occurs every month for women in their fertile years. And we see that modern neo-pagan, contemporary pagans, and feminist spiritual movements have reclaimed the use of menstrual blood in ritual practices, challenging historical taboos surrounding menstrual blood as impure or unclean. Within these traditions, menstrual blood is often seen as a powerful sacred substance connected to the cycles of life, fertility, and the divine feminine. As Miranda Shaw notes, this reclaiming of menstrual blood reflects an attempt to restore the sacredness of the female body and honor the natural cycles of women's lives. In Wiccan and other contemporary pagan practices, menstrual blood is sometimes used in spells for healing, fertility, or protection. The use of one's own menstrual blood adds a personal, intimate dimension to the ritual, reinforcing the connection between the practitioner and the magical working. This approach to blood magic contrasts with the more transgressive use seen in Satanic traditions, as it is primarily oriented towards themes of fertility, regeneration, and feminine empowerment. So as we can see, the themes emerging. So the first one is the reinterpretation of traditional practices. Modern occultists have recontextualized earlier uses of blood, integrating it into new ritual forms that reflect contemporary spiritual needs and ethical considerations. Also, we have the symbolic and pragmatic adaptation, as the use of blood is often symbolic, and practitioners may employ substitutes to achieve similar psychological effects while navigating ethical boundaries. We also have the gendered dimension of blood magic. The role of menstrual blood in feminist spirituality really underscores the shifting cultural attitudes towards the body, gender, and sacredness. These themes highlight the evolving nature of blood magic in the modern esoteric milieu and reveal how it continues to serve as a powerful, albeit controversial, element in contemporary magical practices. Now, I thought it would be also interesting to address the anthropological perspectives. As you know, I'm a scholar in the anthropology of religion. And so I thought it would be interesting to include that. Hopefully, you're going to like it. I'm going to now cover the anthropological perspectives on blood magic and focus on how different cultures have used blood in ritual practices to establish social order, mark transitions, or mediate between the human and the supernatural. Anthropologists have identified recurring themes in blood's symbolic significance, such as its role in rites of passage, healing, and shamanism. So let's explore these themes and discuss how they help us understand the cultural meanings behind blood magic. The anthropologist Victor Turner's work on ritual and symbolism provides a foundational framework for understanding blood's role in rites of passage. In Ritual Process, Structure and Anti-Structure from 1969, Turner discusses how blood often signifies the liminal phase in a rite of passage, where participants transition from one social status to another. The use of blood in these rituals serves as a marker of transformation, representing both the shedding of the old self and the birth of a new identity. For example, in many initiation ceremonies, such as those found among certain African tribes, bloodletting and scarification is used to symbolize the initiate's rebirth into the community as a fully fledged member. Blood's association with life and death allows it to symbolically convey the passage from childhood to adulthood, or from one social role to another. and facilitates the integration of the individual into society with a new status. This idea of liminality that is so associated with blood and also of transformation is central to understanding the use of blood in rituals across different cultures, where it functions as a potent marker of change. The French anthropologist Claude Lévi-Strauss offers another key perspective on blood magic through his structuralist analysis of myths and ritual. In The Savage Mind from 1966, Lévi-Strauss posits that blood, like other elements used in ritual, operates within a system of binary oppositions, like life versus death, purity versus impurity, nature versus culture. These oppositions help to organize social and symbolic structures, allowing cultures to mediate complex relationships within the cosmos and human society. For Lévi-Strauss, the use of blood in rituals is not arbitrary, but reflects underlying cultural codes that seek to balance oppositional forces. For example, the ritual sacrifice of an animal's blood may symbolize the restoration of cosmic order by revolving tensions between life and death, or the natural and supernatural worlds. In this sense, blood serves as a mediator that can reconcile binary oppositions, allowing ritual participants to symbolically navigate the complexities of existence. In shamanic traditions, blood is often regarded as a sacred substance that enables communication between the material and spirit world. Of course, I'm generalizing here, and there are variations across the many, many, many shamanic traditions. But very often, shamans use blood in various rituals to establish reciprocity with spirits, ancestors, or deities, and also to serve as an offering that carries the life force necessary for spiritual exchanges. Michael Tossig's ethnographic work, Shamanism, Colonialism, and Wild Man from 1987, examines how blood in shamanic healing practices acts as a conduit for spiritual power. It can be used to transfer life energy from the shaman to the patient, symbolically cleansing or revitalizing the individual. Blood in shamanic rituals is also sometimes used as a form of self-sacrifice, where the shaman's own blood is offered to spirits to invoke protection or request assistance in healing. This act of self-sacrifice not only demonstrates the shaman's commitment, but also serves as a powerful means of directly engaging with supernatural forces. By offering their own life force, shamans aim to establish a personal connection with the spiritual realm, enhancing the efficacy of their ritual work. Across cultures, blood is frequently used in healing rituals due to its associations with life, vitality, and regenerative power. Anthropologists have documented numerous examples where blood is applied to wounds, used in protective amulets, or employed in rituals to transfer illness from the patient to another entity. For instance, in some indigenous healing practices in South America, animal blood is used to draw out sickness from the afflicted person, with the belief that blood will absorb and carry away the disease. The use of blood in healing reflects a worldview in which physical and spiritual health are interconnected, and where blood's life-giving properties can symbolically restore balance to the body and soul. In these rituals, the boundaries between magic, medicine, and religion are often blurred, indicating a holistic approach to health and well-being. So the themes that emerge here from the anthropological perspectives that we have illustrated is that blood is used as a symbol of liminality and transformation, as it is frequently used to mark significant life transitions, reflecting its role as a mediator between states of being. Also, blood as a tool for balancing oppositional forces. Its used in ritual often seeks to resolve binary oppositions, such as life, death, purity, impurity, to the aim of restoring harmony. And then we have blood in healing and reciprocal relationships with the spirit world. Blood is used in shamanic and healing rituals to transfer life force, cleanse impurities, or establish reciprocity with spiritual entities. These themes really give us an insight into the cultural meanings behind blood magic and its persistent significance in ritual practices across diverse societies. Given that we are talking about quite a delicate subject, I thought it would also be important to address contemporary practices and ethical considerations, and to explore how blood magic has been reinterpreted in contemporary occult and spiritual practices, taking into consideration ethical implications surrounding the use of blood in rituals. While traditional uses of blood continue in some forms, modern practitioners often adapt these practices to fit current ethical standards and cultural sensibilities. So let's look a bit more at what's happening here. Contemporary occult movements and contemporary pagan traditions have incorporated blood magic by drawing on historical and folkloric practices while adapting them to suit modern spiritual needs and ethical standards. In Wicca and other contemporary pagan paths, blood is sometimes used symbolically rather than literally, with substitutes like red wine or herbal mixtures taking the place of actual blood in rituals. These symbolic acts are believed to produce similar magical effects without the ethical concerns associated with the use of animal or human blood. This approach allows practitioners to connect with traditional symbolic meanings of blood, such as life force, protection, and sacrifice, while avoiding potential harm or controversy. In some neo-pagan rituals or contemporary pagan rituals, practitioners use their own blood to add a personal element to spells, particularly those intended for self-empowerment, healing, or protection. By using a small drop of their own blood, practitioners symbolically invest a piece of themselves into the magic, reinforcing their personal connection to the ritual outcome. This practice is often done with caution, using minimal quantities to avoid health risks, and within a framework that emphasizes consent and personal choice. Chaos magic, known for its flexible and pragmatic approach to ritual, has influenced the modern use of blood magic. Chaos magicians typically prioritize psychological and symbolic effects over traditional ritual forms, meaning that physical blood is not always considered necessary. Instead, symbolic substitutes, such as red ink, visualizations, or even metaphorical representations of blood, can be used to achieve the same intended outcome. The emphasis here is on the practitioner's intent and the effectiveness of the ritual rather than the specific materials that are employed. When actual blood is used in chaos magic, it is often employed for high stakes or transformative rituals where the practitioner seeks to make a deep commitment or significant change. In such cases, the use of one's own blood serves as a powerful symbol of personal investment, echoing traditional ideas about blood's potency as a life force. The practice is undertaken with awareness of ethical concerns, and safety precautions are typically observed to prevent harm. In modern feminist spirituality, the use of menstrual blood in ritual has gained prominence as a form of reclaiming bodily autonomy and challenging cultural taboos surrounding menstruation. Menstrual blood is often regarded as a sacred substance linked to the cycles of life and fertility, making it suitable for rituals aimed at healing, protection, and fertility magic. This approach contrasts with historical views of menstrual blood as impure or dangerous, instead positioning it as a source of female power and divine energy. Rituals involving menstrual blood are sometimes performed as private acts of self-empowerment, where the practitioner honors their connection to nature and the feminine divine. The blood may be used to anoint ritual tools, mark sacred space, or as an offering to deities associated with fertility and the air. This practice reflects broader cultural shifts towards embracing natural bodily processes as sacred rather than shameful. And this also challenges patriarchal views on menstruation. The use of blood in modern ritual practices raises several ethical concerns, which practitioners must navigate carefully. The use of blood in modern ritual practices raises several ethical concerns, which practitioners often navigate carefully. And these include animal rights, Historically, animal sacrifice and the use of animal blood were common in many cultures. But in contemporary practices, there is a widespread rejection of animal sacrifice due to concerns about cruelty and the ethical treatment of animals. Many practitioners therefore opt for symbolic substitutes or use ethically sourced animal products such as leather or feathers that do not involve killing an animal. Also, there's consent and personal safety. When using one's own blood in rituals, issues of consent and safety are paramount. Practitioners are often advised to take precautions to avoid infections or excessive blood loss. The principle of informed consent is essential, with the individual choosing to use their own blood as an expression of free will without coercion or external pressure. Then there's the health risks. Handling blood, whether human or animal, carries health risks due to the potential transmission of bloodborne pathogens. Modern practitioners are typically encouraged to use sterile equipment and follow proper safety procedures to minimize these risks. And then, of course, there are legal and social concerns because in some regions, the use of blood in ritual practices may be subject to legal restrictions or social stigma. Practitioners need to be aware of local laws and cultural attitudes regarding blood magic to avoid legal repercussions or social conflict. To address these ethical concerns, many contemporary magical practitioners turn to symbolic substitutions. As I've already mentioned, red wine, ink, or visualized blood can serve as effective alternatives that carry the symbolic resonance of blood without involving ethical or health-related complications. This approach not only aligns with modern sensibilities, but also honors the symbolic meaning of blood as a powerful life force in ritual context. So the themes that emerge from the contemporary recontextualizations and the ethical concerns around blood magic is that there is an element of personalization and consent that is quite strong. The choice to use one's own blood highlights themes of autonomy and personal empowerment in contemporary spirituality. Then we have the symbolic substitutions. As a symbolic replacements for blood maintain the ritual's intended effect while addressing ethical and health concerns in the belief system of contemporary practitioners. And also we have reclamation and empowerment as the use of menstrual blood, for instance, in feminist practices, exemplifies the reclamation of natural processes as sacred and challenges historical taboos about it. So we see here how blood magic persists as a meaningful practice in contemporary occult traditions, though, of course, it has evolved to accommodate modern ethical considerations and cultural values. So to conclude this episode on blood magic throughout history, we have explored its evolving role, significance, and ethical considerations across different cultural contexts and historical periods. The key themes discussed provide insight into how blood magic has persisted and transformed over time. First, we have blood as a potent symbol and ritual substance. Throughout history, blood has been regarded as a powerful and sacred substance that symbolizes life, death, and transformation. Its use in ritual practices, whether for sacrifice, healing, or invoking the divine, reflects deep-seated beliefs about the nature of life force and the boundaries between the physical and spiritual realms. This symbolism is evident in ancient sacrificial practices, medieval magic, and modern esotericism. Then we have the duality of blood, sacred and diabolical. Blood has been viewed in paradoxical terms, serving as both a sacred substance in religious rites and a feared element in practices condemned by dominant religious institutions. This duality is seen in medieval and early modern attitudes towards witchcraft, where blood was associated with pacts with the devil, as well as in modern satanic practices that reclaim blood as a symbol of transgression and empowerment. The meaning and use of blood in magical practices have been continuously reinterpreted. Modern occultists often adapt traditional practices to contemporary ethical standards, using symbolic substitutes or small amounts of their own blood to personalize rituals. This evolution reflects broader cultural changes, such as the reclamation of menstrual blood in feminist spirituality and the pragmatic approaches of chaos magic. Modern practitioners also face the ethical concerns when incorporating blood into rituals. Issues such as animal rights, consent, health risks, and legal regulations shape how blood magic is performed today. Symbolic substitutions and personalized practices are often employed to balance the need for ritual efficacy with ethical considerations. So we can conclude by saying that blood's magic enduring presence in human cultures really highlights its profound symbolic resonance and ritualistic appeal. Despite changing societal attitudes and ethical standards, the practice continues to adapt, demonstrating its flexibility and the deep psychological and spiritual needs it addresses. Whether used literally or symbolically, blood remains a potent element in Magick, carrying cultural meanings that resonate with themes of life, sacrifice, and transformation. Thank you so much for listening up to this point, and these are the references. As always, they're becoming too long to include in the info box in full, unfortunately, so you can see them here. And if you watched until this point, congratulations. You are incredible and very committed to your learning and education. So kudos for that. And if you watch until this point, leave me a blood emoji, the blood drop. You should have it, but if you don't have it, you can be creative as you guys usually are when you can't find the emoji. I always find it funny to read your comments that try to make up for the lack of the emoji. Anyway, thank you so much for listening up until this point. If you like this project and want me to keep going, please consider supporting my work with donations on PayPal, signing up to my Patreon community, which is also an amazing community, joining memberships here on YouTube, super thanking me in the comments, and checking out my services at drangelapuca.com. This project really can only exist thanks to you. You're offering this knowledge, this scholarly knowledge, to everybody for free on the internet. So if you are one of my patrons or you're going to become one, this is fantastic. You are really contributing to the knowledge of everybody. And yeah, I hope that you liked this video. If you did, don't forget to smash the like button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and share my videos around. I'd love to reach 100,000 subscribers here on YouTube by the end of the year, and I can only do it thanks to you guys. So please share my videos around, like there's no tomorrow. And so that the symposium can grow. I would massively appreciate that. So also, what else? Activate the notification bell so that you will always be notified, and let me know in the comments what you thought about this episode, and if you like this new format that is a bit longer and a bit more lecture-like. Thank you so much for being here. It's been amazing to be here with you, and I hope that you stay tuned for all the academic fun. Bye for now. Trying to point at you. Bye for now.